Chapter 32. Billy didn't know where to begin and sat for a moment with his eyes closed before finally thinking to himself, "We mean you no harm." He felt ridiculous, though, like he was speaking to an alien that had landed in a spaceship. Then he changed his thoughts to, "We want to help you." When that line of thinking grew old, he began to imagine he was speaking with Bigfoot and telling him, or her, that he had always dreamed of meeting him and that he couldn't imagine harming him, or her. Billy opened his eyes. It seemed that Harrison was deep in thought, sitting in a pose befitting of a mantra. Rink looked like she was praying or sleeping. Robo was more than likely asleep. It was impossible to tell what Gable was doing. The woods were dark and quiet. Almost too quiet. Billy thought about his father, who used to be a tremendous hockey fan. It seems like I get this feeling just before a player scores. The hairs on my arms stand on end, and there's this anticipation, like I know it's going to happen. Billy felt that way now. It started in the pit of his stomach and sent a chill that radiated up his spine to the back of his neck. He looked around anxiously. Darkness. Nothing. He closed his eyes once more and saw his father. What would he have thought about all of this? What did he expect of his son? He never knew. Not really. Would he have approved of him roaming all over the countryside, hunting what most would consider a mythical creature? He would have thought the television show was pretty neat. It was, but that's not why Billy did this. He believed. Billy's eyes grew heavy behind the lids, all the way back to the eyeballs themselves. He let go and fell into a deep sleep. Rain had begun to fall, and the droplets fell onto Billy's forehead and were running down his face when he awoke. The day was gray. The others were covered in sleeping bags and shirts. He rolled over and raised up on an elbow. The rain made tiny plinking sounds on the leaves overhead and the ground. On the ground. He tried to focus. On the ground. There, on the leaves, on a twig, darker droplets that were not water. It was blood. A chill raced over Billy. He sat then, quick, a movement of surprise, his breath whisking into his lungs in one swoosh like one might upon discovering a huge spider crawling up a lake. He backed away. Several drops, all around. He couldn't scream. Nothing came out. His throat was dry. He saw him. He sat on his haunches, squatting like a catcher preparing to call a pitch. Massive. His head was enormous. His brown eyes stared into Billy's. His right hand held his side and was caked with old and new blood. Billy could hear his breathing. "Hey, Billy." It was Rink. She was beginning to sit up. "Be still," he whispered in an urgent hiss. Rink did so. He moved his eyes from her to their visitor. "Don't move quickly." Rink turned her head and her eyes flew open wide, her breath coming in short, urgent spurts. How would one react to awaking in a gorilla compound? That must have been what she was thinking. He could have done anything he wanted. But he hadn't. He was hurt. Billy looked to Harrison, who was sitting absolutely still, but with a wide smile. "No one's going to hurt you," Gable said. He was also awake. "Be quiet, Gable," Billy hissed. For once, Gable was quiet. "I'll be darned." Robo was smiling too, his gap of missing tooth showing. "I'm sorry," Billy said, and decided in that instant to think the comment instead. Then, in another afterthought, he added they had nothing to do with this. They wanted to help. "A man did it," Billy said. You heard it too, Rink said. I can't believe this. A man hurt you? Billy asked, and again thought the comment. The Bigfoot's head turned somewhat and he looked away. A man had hurt the girl. Not one of us, Gable said. Be still, Gable, Billy said, louder this time. A moment passed, and the Bigfoot bent in pain. His breathing was even more labored, and a sound escaped his lips. Then, unexpectedly, he raised his eyes to the treetops and began a long, mournful wail that Billy felt in his chest. Then, all was quiet. No one moved. The man with the gun did it, Billy said. He and Rink looked at Gable. Don't look at me, Gable said to them. He says he's dying, Billy said. Who killed the girl? A minute passed, and the Bigfoot rose, still holding his side, his muscles now visible under the hair on his body, his massive hands and torso glistening in the rain. The driving man with the lights, Billy said. Tinker? The Bigfoot swayed and went to a knee. We've got to take him to Tom. How? Rink asked. We've got to make it to the vehicle, Billy said. Follow us? They began to gather their gear. As if he read her mind, Billy spoke to Petra. I want to as well. We promised. No worries, she said. Let's go. They began to walk down the mountains, with Bigfoot following, his heavy steps shaking the ground they trod.